Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. As always, it is so good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Last week I was on vacation, and coming back this week I thought, why not release two videos? So I decided to pull one of my older songs that I recorded and did a video for called Slingshot Romance. It was on my sister channel, but I thought I'd bring it over here. On this particular channel, outside of all the discussion points and lifestyle things, I also want to highlight when I do an original song. And so I decided to pick that one. So if you have not seen it yet, please go take a moment, pause this now, and here's a link for it. Go and watch that video, watch that song, and then come back. Because this particular video is going to be just giving some fun facts about the making of it, some commentary, behind the scenes stuff, so it really won't make a whole lot of sense unless you see the video. And for those who might have already seen it, thank you for watching it. It may be worth your while to go and watch it again just to get a refresher course before jumping into this commentary. All right, as far as the song and video itself, one of the reasons I pulled it first is because it was the first that I recorded in this studio of mine in Dallas, even though the name back then of the studio was called Lady Luck Studio. The song was released on October 28th in the year 2014. So yeah, we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary on this. And I'm still in a little bit of a vacation fog, because if I had my act together, this would have been the perfect thing to do down the road at the end of October, but it's fine. Here we are. Like most all of my music videos, the music is always pre-recorded, and then I will go back later and do the video part of it and just replicate the parts. I had one singular GoPro camera to record everything. I had set up, I think it was at least 3, if not 4, different camera angles for that particular shoot. And I would stick that GoPro on a tripod, and then I would do about 5 to 10 different takes. And by that, I would mean sitting behind the kid and playing the song from start to finish. 5 to 10 times. And then I take the camera, put it on a new location, do the same thing. This may seem extreme, but this was the first video I had ever done. I didn't know how much footage I was going to need. And yeah, I did overkill on that. But the main thought was to gather enough footage to where I could, splice some parts that were quality enough to make a great video. Let's see, I also, in thinking about the GoPro, it kind of drove me up a wall in some ways, because it's kind of hard to look like a rock star when you can see that the other half of the studio was doubling as a family room. You could see my futon, you could see my television. Incidentally, this is where the kids, when they were growing up, we would sit and watch movies. So you definitely got a peek into that. I also remember that it took a couple days to do the shoot itself. And the reason I know this is because there are sometimes where you can see the shelf that is behind me sometimes has a cover, and then sometimes it does not. So I forgot to do it the next day. Some incongruency there. You might have also noticed that sometimes when I'm playing the cowbell part that it doesn't always line up with the audio. When I did the audio recording, I improvised that cowbell part. It wasn't a set pattern. It wasn't like a traditional cowbell pattern. So it was extremely difficult to remember that on the day of the video shoot. And yes, I could have gone the extra mile, and I could have gone to the audio and notated the exact rhythm and stuff, and then come back no, that wasn't going to happen. So I wanted to get the video out. So there's just some times where it doesn't line up. It was also extremely hot in the studio, yes, even in October. After 5 takes or so, I would just be a sweaty mess. And I would end up having to take my shirt off, and I'd throw it in the dryer to get it dried out. I'd have to towel myself down before doing the next take. It also explains why I wore sweatbands in the video too. During the choir section, that was kind of an interesting challenge. The very first time that I had the cameras rolling, and it got to that part, and I just sat there. It's like, what am I going to do? You know, pick my nose or something while all of the vocals are happening? So I came up with the idea of raiding my Halloween box and pulling out costumes that I've worn in years past and creating a choir of sorts, some different characters. And I even went to my closet and pulled out my suit and a tux top and some other things. And I don't know, it was kind of fun playing dress up that day. And yeah, I was a nun one year for Halloween. Don't knock it, because I need all the holiness I can get. As far as the dog in the video, I had 2 beautiful big black labs named Angus and Roxy. And I came up with the idea to bring them into the shot because I could sometimes get them to howl. And I thought, man, wouldn't it be a hoot if I could get one of them and actually capture them howling on the camera and then, you know, use them as part of the choir as well. So I started with Angus first, who was the more docile of the 2. And I'll be darned, when I didn't bring him in here, if that wing nut didn't just spaz out. I couldn't even get him to sit. He was just so... So I ended up having to go a different direction. I let him go. And I brought in the second, his sister, Roxanne. And she did the exact same thing, spazzed out. The difference, though, was that while she was doing it, she was giving me puppy kisses. So I had to keep that for sure. I hadn't seen this video for quite some time until this week, and was looking at it from a videographer perspective. And well, let's just say that it was a huge learning experience. You know, looking back, I am grateful that I have learned more about camera resolution and lighting and editing. And oh boy, back then that was a thing, learning how to edit videos. That was a huge learning curve for me. Rendering and all that kind of stuff. You know, I did the best I could with where I was at the time. But yeah, there are definitely some things that I watched and I was like, oh dude, you let that slide, you know, and even maybe tried to go back and tighten some things up, but I didn't have that old footage anymore. So live and learn. We all have to start somewhere. All right, so let's talk about that goofy title, Slingshot Romance, and what in the heck is that all about? I'm going to state up front that I hate naming songs, unless something, you know, pops to mind immediately. When I write lyrics for songs, it's a heck of a lot easier because, you know, I can usually just take something out of the song and something out of the lyrics and use that. It's a lot harder for me with instrumentals, and I often have to go by the feel of a song. So it got to the point, you know, the music had been recorded, the video was almost done, and I had to come up with the title. I just couldn't think of anything. So I listened to the piano part. I thought, you know, that's kind of romantic sounding. And then when the electric guitars kick in at the first, it propels the song forward, almost like a rock in a slingshot. And I thought about those 2 images and I just combined them, Slingshot Romance. And I guess there was a part of me also underlying it all that was thinking about how fast a romance can blossom. And that once it does, it can move forward like at 90 miles per hour, you know, once that romance is on fire. So that's part of what was happening with that tune. If I had to do it over, I probably would name it something else, especially considering that one could misconstrue this song, at least the song title, being about someone having a romantic interest with an inanimate object. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Oh man, so I haven't heard this song in a long time as well, so I wanted to offer some thoughts on that. You know, the engineer in me would definitely go back and thicken those guitar parts up and just bring some better sounds to the mix. Adding a live bass guitar rather than a synth. Drum-wise, I was grateful to remember that was the one video that I did with a beautiful kit that I had. It was a Sonar Designer Maple Series drum set that was in a Bubinga veneer. It was just an absolutely gorgeous looking and sounding kit. And unfortunately, I don't have that set anymore. But, you know, I think I did an okay job recording the drums. The drums themselves were beautiful. I didn't do too bad getting them mic'd up and whatnot. So let's see, the choir part. Well, you know, there are some things when I go back and look at the video, just from a musician standpoint, and I go, dang nab, man, I wish I was a better guitarist. I wish I was a better drummer. I wish I was a better vocalist. And that was kind of the case with the choir end of things. For those of you who don't know, the choir is all me, and I would just record myself numerous tracks, layering things, doing all the harmonies and all of that. I've always been a bit self-conscious about my vocals. I have sung backup in bands before. My pitch is not bad. I can sing harmonies. I just don't have a good lead singer quality vocal. And that's always made me a little bit self-conscious about whenever I sing. I decided at one point that I wasn't sure if the vocal line that I had done was good enough. So I went back and re-recorded all of the vocal parts again. That was some doing. And I did walk away from it with a better sounding choir part. It was stronger, it was more in pitch, it was more pristine. And I'll be darned if when I went to mix down and I replaced the old one, if I put that new one in there, it didn't sound near as good. I was just trying to figure out why. It's like, why on earth is this happening? I think I figured it out, that the first version that I did, because there was some discrepancy in the pitch with all of those different tracks, that what ended up happening is it kind of made what we would call a chorus effect. It just kind of filled things out a little bit nicer in the mix and happened to gel with the instruments better. So, I scrapped that part, or scrapped the redo and kept the original in there. And the last thing I'll share was actually the most difficult part of the song, at least drumming wise. And it wasn't the drum solo. It was the very end of the song. From about 4:43 to about 5:07 or so, which also happens to be my favorite part of the tune. I couldn't at first think of anything to play there. I was playing all kinds of stuff when I was coming up with parts, and it all sounded like crap. So I stripped everything away, and I just played an extremely simple halftime beat with some interplay between the snare and this China stacker that I was hitting. And I'll be darned if it was not the most freaking difficult thing in the whole tune to record. To be able to get that thing to groove and in the pocket, it took a lot. And I think it was because there was just so much space between the notes. Oftentimes it's a lot easier to play the really fast, busy stuff, and it's harder to play the things that have more space. Man, and then to do that fast cymbal flurry at the end and then come out of that into that halftime feel that needed to be really relaxed, and doing kind of a variation of that between the snare and the china. Well, let's just say when I watched it this week, and I hadn't seen it for a while, that I got a big smile on my face. And just remembering that was a small mountain for me to climb when I was recording it. And it's definitely stood the test of time. Anyways, that's all I've got. Thank you. If you're still here, oh my gosh, thank you for letting me talk a little bit about my music. And I appreciate you checking it out. If there was something that you noticed in the video that you have a question about, write it in the comments and let me know, and I'll see about answering it as best I can. Until next time, I hope that you are doing well, truly, and if not, then I'm sending good vibes your way, that things do get better. Light and love to you all. Take care now. Bye.